This is Judd Lormand from SEAL Team. I'm here with Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz.
Everyone, I have the honour and the privilege of the company of Judd Lormand from SEAL Team at the moment.
Great to be here, Chris. The honor and privilege is mine, man.
No, thank you. You honour me, was it? No, you do me justice. Is that the word? I think that's the word.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I was going to say, it is great because obviously just coming in and watching, I'm actually halfway through season 1 at the moment, almost there, like I mentioned to you earlier. And it's that's what I was talking about the beard, because the beard's actually come on, because in season 1 you've started out, you obviously you're doing those missions and the training, so it's not that big, but now I can see it's coming on really well.
Oh well, it's big by the time you get to season by the end of season 1. It's you can't miss the beard, I promise you.
I know, I've seen some of the pictures, and some of the pictures you tweet out on Instagram with the new episode coming up is like, I didn't actually recognise you, to be fair, because I was looking at the pictures of. I was like, "Is that serious? Is that really him?"
Yep, that's it. Yeah, it was huge, and it's a totally different look, which I like, because for 8 years I would do all of these roles in law enforcement, cop roles and detective and FBI agent and sometimes a lawyer, but all of them were clean shaven, and so between auditioning and shooting, I was literally shaving as much as the guy who works at the bank, and this is the first time that I've actually gotten to just kind of let it grow, and it makes it feel like vacation in a way.
I envy you. Like you say, I'm nice and clean. I work in IT, so I've got to be nice and clean shaven, and yeah, I'd like to let the beard grow one day.
There you go.
Yeah. See, I'm trying to get into acting actually, so yeah, I'll have to try and get into acting. I'm slightly too big to be a SEAL in a film role. I could actually be a SEAL, literally a SEAL because of all the blubber, but not a Navy SEAL. I was going to mention as well, I mean, you have had lots of different roles like that. Obviously, before we go into talking about SEAL Team again, I'll mention that on now. You've played pastor, a farmer. You've played multiple cops and detectives, and Jack Reacher as well. I remember you in Jack Reacher, the crooked cop, and paramedics as well, and the SEAL. So, kind of, what is your favorite? What was your favorite? What is your favorite role to play? Prior to SEAL Team, what was your favorite one? Would you say? I mean, you have been in a lot, so.
Yeah, and it's funny when someone asks like your favorite role, it's so hard to narrow down, because it's like asking your, which of your children is your favorite?
Yeah,
because they're all, I mean, and because I literally, like, as an actor, you work really hard to get the job, and so they're all very near and dear to you when you get them, for different reasons.
Yeah,
but I would have to say, like, the Jack Reacher film was so great because I had done so many police officer roles, but working with Tom Cruise on a large venture like the Jack Reacher franchise, was just a great experience in every way possible. Working with him, working with that production was so great. I consider it like the climax of my cop run. You know what I mean? Like, I reached the pinnacle of copness when you can be the cop that arrests Tom Cruise or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then another favorite for a different reason is a movie called LBJ that came out a couple years ago, and the role is just really small, but I got to play a former Secretary of State in the U.S. It was an actual historical figure, Robert McNamara.
Okay.
And when I played him, that was brand new for me, because every role that I do, I feel like I put Judd in the shoes of that person.
Yeah.
So how would Judd be the cop? How would Judd be the lawyer? How would Judd be the dad? And whereas this one, Robert McNamara, an actual living, breathing, known person. So the preparation was totally different than anything else I had done to that point.
I can imagine.
And it was such a challenge, but it was a fun challenge. I read his book, his autobiography. Watched all of these videos online of him talking, and really tried to get the physical part of him down. Even changed the direction my hair parted. Right? If you look at every thing I've done prior to LBJ, my hair parted on one particular side, and then I reversed it for that role to match him, and I kept it that way ever since. And just little things, how would he walk, how would he talk, and it was kind of fun. I would get others to help me with, like, I would say, come up with a topic. It could be something current, and ask me how I feel or whatever about such and such topic, and I would try to answer that the way McNamara would.
Okay.
Just to be in his head, So those are two that I can think of off the top of my head that were favorites for different reasons,
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you are portraying someone who was a living person, or is a living, at the time, is a character in history, especially recent history with McNamara as well. Then you've got to try, I guess, getting that right compared to, like you say, a cop or a paramedic somewhere, or you've got to get the role right, but the actual mannerisms. So
that's right.
So actually changing your hairstyle, things like that, sounds really good that you've actually gone to that much of a in depth to change yourself and change your outlook. And
it was so much fun to do that.
Yeah, I can imagine. Also, McNamara as well. Talking about Reacher as well. Have you read Lee? I'm going to throw this out there. Have you read Lee Child?
No, I haven't.
Right, okay.
I didn't. Did the books you talking about?
Yeah, the books. Yeah, the Reacher books.
No, and so many people have told me how great they are, but I've got this thing where when it comes to books that get made into movies, since I was younger, if there's a crime series or that's everybody's raving about or whatever, I purposely don't read them, even before I was an actor.
Yeah.
Because if it's likely to be made into a movie, if you read the book first, it's 95% of the time you're going to come out of the movie saying, well, it wasn't as good as the book.
Yeah.
I've just heard it all my life from everyone. And the thing is like, a book has like unlimited time. It has your imagination. It has all that. Whereas a movie's got an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, to condense maybe 500-600 pages into.
Yeah. So it's not a fair comparison. So what I do a lot of the times is, in the past, what I've done is if there's a movie that I love, I really like, that was based on a book, I'll see that movie first, love the movie, and then I'll go read the book because it gives me like bonus footage, bonus story, more details. And so, like I did that with, Da Vinci Code, for example.
Okay, yeah.
The movie, like I said, they don't have enough time, and so the movie was great when I saw it, but I love the book even more.
Yeah.
But I don't like to do it in the reverse order. So, but I haven't gotten around to reading the Jack Reacher books yet. I want to one day.
Yeah, they are good. I did the same with Da Vinci Code, to be fair. I watched the movies first, then read the books afterwards. I only mentioned Reacher because with Tom, the only bugbear that I've got, because I've read all the Reacher books, awesome. I listened to them because I used to drive in my car for like 5 hours. It's a great Audible. There's a plug for Audible there, so if they want to sponsor the show, they can.
There you go.
So yeah, just I know Tom, they're doing a series now as well. And I think they have said that they might. I mean, Tom Cruise is a fantastic actor. You never knock him, but yeah, Reacher's 6'7" and like a house. Yeah, that's the only thing. But I mean, Tom did a fantastic job in the movies anyway. And if you didn't know that, then you wouldn't. It's only.
Yep.
That's just that's exactly what you've just said. It's because you've read the book first.
It's because you've read the book and you've created this character, you've created this image, this idea, and now it's like, oh, well, it's not as now. And so many people said that when the original one came out. I talked to so many people who said, oh, that's not going to be any good because Tom Cruise is not Jack Reacher. But the movie people who went to see it were like, can only see Jack Reacher as Tom Cruise. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I do. I go in the reverse order.
Oh yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed the movies, both of them. To be fair, they're fantastic films. And even though I've read the books, I still love the movies.
Yeah.
I thought that
Good. Oh, good.
I kind of do have that imagination where I can separate, and even though it's there, that I think he's not really the role. He
good.
Does such a good job, and everyone does. Everyone does such a good job in the film anyway that it doesn't really matter. You just forget, which is a good sign. Excellent. So moving on to not Geostorm. I've got that written down because I know that's what you. I had David S. Lee was on my show as well once, and he was in Geostorm. That's why I picked up on that link. But moving on to SEAL Team, which is obviously why we're here, is it's fantastic. Like I say, we are behind due to it's only travelling time, stuff like that. I had a backlog of shows, so we're watching SEAL Team, totally addicted.
Good.
Even my wife is addicted, and that I said that says something when she's into it. And there's a question which I had coming in from June, who's at Writer June on Twitter. She had two questions first. I'll do the serious one and then I'll do the jokey one after. Do you feel a sense of responsibility in playing the role because you are representing and you're actually working with men and women of the armed forces?
Without a doubt, 100%. And the encouraging thing every day is that the overwhelmingly positive thing about doing this show is the fact that it's not just me that feels that way about my character. Mm-hmm. It's every single crew member, every writer, every producer on our show. We're all in it, every actor, we're all in it for the same thing, to tell these stories, but to tell them as authentically as we possibly can. We've got, dozens of veterans that work on our crew itself. Yeah. From the catering guys to, cameramen, camera operators, grips, costume department. We've got so many vets in there. And then on top of that, we also have some designated consultants that are there with us every single day we shoot. Yeah. That are coming in from the SEAL team, former SEAL team, former Delta Force guys, former special operators that, know what we're trying to achieve, and they're watching every little aspect of what we do. Mm-hmm. And carry your gun this way. You want to cross the target and move in this way. You want to your patch is wrong. Your helmet needs to be this. Yeah, all the little things. And then we even have a former SEAL in our writers' room to make sure that overall the stories that we're telling and the missions that we're portraying are realistic to what SEALs actually do. Yeah. So to answer that question, I definitely feel that responsibility, as does every member of our production, and that makes it so rewarding, and it's challenging and rewarding at the same time. When I'm in an airport and someone in the military comes up and says, "Hey, are you Judd? Are you Blackburn from SEAL Team?" Yeah, and they talk to us and say, "Well, we love the show, and you guys, thank you." They tell us thank you for getting it right. Wow. And I'm like, dude, thank you for what you've done. Exactly. Just trying to be you guys. But they really, that's like the best compliment ever from them, to say that we're keeping it real is so awesome. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so it's the thing I think that all of us are most proud of. I can imagine,
that kind of a compliment is definitely good. I mean, I'm not a Navy SEAL. I don't, but from what I've seen and studied, and from the cadets and things, like I say, I remember back in when I was in the reserves and things like that, of how to handle myself and looking at the tactics that the SEAL team uses from documentaries that you see, it is spot on. And knowing that you've got so many veterans and you've got all the these guys coming in and helping you consult and stuff, it makes it really more realistic. And even the costumes down to the ground, because the costumes, so the uniforms that you're wearing, not costumes, well, they are costumes for you. The uniforms that you the uniforms and the equipment that is in there, it's the current stuff. It's all legit. It's the current stuff that's being worn. And what I loved in the first few episodes I've seen, and I'll probably carry on, is I've got a real thing for that night camo. The midnight camo stuff, that just looks really,
that's awesome.
Shit off. If you pardon the French, that's just fantastic really stuff.
Yeah, our guys who order that stuff for us, the kits and everything, it's the legit stuff that the guys use, and the real SEALs use. And I've been on productions before where the actors have to carry large guns around or whatever, and they'll there'll be replicas that look identical, but they're so much lighter and whatever.
Yeah.
These are the real things.
Wow.
So when our guys are out there shooting all day long, going up a hill with guns and kits on, or whatever, it's the real deal. They're carrying the same weight that the real SEALs would, and yeah, it's so cool to be a part of something that's trying to do our best to do it right. And yes, to answer June's question, without a doubt, I feel that responsibility, as does everyone on the show.
Brilliant. That sounds fantastic. It sounds very much like you're like a modern day version of the Band of Brothers team with the series that they put out.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
what you've just told me there, I didn't realise that they were actually carrying the full weight of the SEALs as well. So they are getting that full experience down there. So that's bloody impressive, especially for a TV series to actually go through.
Some actors doing it.
Yeah, exactly. To going through that hell. I mean, have you done any like boot campy type stuff with them or?
No, actually, we did a lot of at the very beginning we did some training with our. Excuse me.
No problem.
At the very beginning we did a lot of training with our SEALs, our consultants.
Mm-hmm.
But most of our training is done on the fly. So if we have to do something new, for this episode, we don't roll the cameras until our guys come and show us exactly how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
I personally went out to the Mojave Desert a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I was invited through someone contacted my publicist from the Army.
Yeah.
And said, hey, would Judd like to come out and participate in this really exclusive deal? They only have like 30 people out per year to do this. And you go out to the Mojave Desert and you train with the Army. And it's called an immersion day, where they pick you up at 7 a.m. in a Black Hawk, whisk you out to the desert, to this huge city they've built.
Yeah. It's
the size of Rhode Island, one of our states. And it's this intense war games like atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And we put everything on and run around and do that. It was kind of like a boot camp day.
Yeah.
And but it's, as far as the show goes, so much of it is on the fly. And the good news is like I say, the good thing is that we don't shoot it until everyone knows how to do it right.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, how hard is some of that? I mean, I say, well, I take it because, like I said, really early on, so it's throw your mind right back. I think the one I've just seen, which looked brilliant on the day, was the car-to-car heist of the I can't remember the criminal's name, the Eastern European general. Where
they had to take the guys out of the car.
That looked like so much fun. Exactly. But to be fair, that looked like it was a lot of fun that you must have had when you were practicing for that with the car throwing each other out and.
Yeah, that was amazing. You talking about the one where we practice it in the hangar?
You practice it in the hangar and then you go out and then.
Yes. So I was there that day timing the guys.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
And I've got a front row spot of the whole scene, and it was so unbelievably cool. Like the 13-year-old in me was like, "What? This is awesome!" Like what you saw was what they really did. Of course, there's things like Hollywood glass, when they break the glass, so that no one gets severely injured.
Shredded.
But they're shooting blanks, right?
Yeah.
It's 5 rounds of blanks. So, there was a couple of takes where actually, one where I got hit with a blank.
Whoa. That
was flying out. I mean, it's that was one that like felt so real, because I'm standing there with a stopwatch.
Yeah. Just
a few feet away, and it's car gets out, boom, grab the guy. Man, it was so awesome to watch, man.
I can imagine. I mean, it's awesome to watch from sitting on the screen watching it. Someone being there.
Yeah.
And that's hit by a blank as well. A lot of people don't. I mean, I know that because I got hit in the face by a blank when I was in the reserves. People don't realise if it's a blank, the stuff still comes out at the end, and it comes out a hell of an. It's like the cardboard and stuff. Right. It does. That's right. Bloody hurt.
Yep.
So I mean, it's hazards of the job. I hope your insurance is good.
Keep you awake while you're working.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, what we're saying there as well. So I was going to say I've got a friend who's ex-SS regiment, That's what I was going to say. Is perhaps maybe the better regiment. No, I'm kidding. The SEALs, yeah. The rivalry.
Right.
Those guys are as good as each other. They're fantastic. But
Right.
he was out in Gulf War One and things like that, and huge respect. He can switch himself on. I was in his car. It just triggered my memory, and I was thinking that I was in his car once, and he took us on country lanes, and he was doing the. I was sitting in the back, and then it was him, and there was another guy who's also ex-forces, and they started doing that. The aggressive driving, just to try it, and I was in the back. I needed the toilet, and I needed to change my trousers afterwards because they were just going down country lanes, and it was just like they were basically looking at the map, saying like soft left, hard right, soft left, go, and they spun round, and then it was reversing up and spanning the car around, and it was a back seat.
Yeah, they're nuts, man.
But it's all
awesome.
all those close protection stuff that the guys and the SEALs all know how to do, and it was just fantastic to sort of experience and see. So, yeah, excellent. And I mean, we talked about veterans. I mean, you've got a huge. I know that yourself. You've got a huge respect and a huge support of veterans of the forces as well. And I think in America, in the States, because obviously I'm over in the UK, we have that respect for our forces as well. But the US has such an amazing respect. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And we go to SeaWorld and stuff, and you stand, and everyone asks if there's not just the US forces, anyone. You all stand up, give them a round of applause, and show the respect. And that I get tears in the eyes every time I watch that, because it's just like wow, it's such an amazing feeling. But I think there is more to be done. Like here on the streets, quite a lot of veterans they get abandoned by the government. They've come out and that's it. They just left, and I know that's very similar in the States. And we have
for everything positive I can say about our treatment of vets. It's gotten so much better since the days of Vietnam and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
it's gotten so much better. The overall respect people have for the troops. However, for everything positive I can say, I can also say that we should be doing more. A lot of these men and women who come home, are often in need of treatment.
Yeah,
physically, mentally, emotionally. That I think that we could be doing a much better job of taking care of them. For what they've done for us, I think it's the least that we could do for them.
Yeah,
and so yeah, I'm happy to say that we've come a long way in our respect and our treatment of our veterans and our active troops. But I don't think we've reached our pinnacle. I think there's more that can be done.
Oh, definitely. I totally agree with you. And I mean, you mentioned Vietnam there as well. And I did mention before we started recording the fact that I started reenacting Vietnam 10 years ago, and I reached out to the veterans there and made friends with them because they were sending me stuff that they brought back. Things like badges and patches, 101st Airborne made in velvet, that was something like that. So sentimental to those guys, but they were so thankful that anyone would want to remember them in a positive light, and that touched me more than anything. And I'm actually something else. I've started. I've got the idea in my head, and I've started with the first 3 words of my own screenplay of doing something very similar to like a bit of a Vietnam, that kind of thing. Because I want to be able to get something out there and portray that era, because those guys went through hell. I think there's a guy called Larry Chambers. Broke my heart when I heard him, and he said, I think he'd come back. He was 20, and he was in a football hall, and as a college football player who'd obviously not been to Vietnam yet, and he broke his ankle, and the girls were all swarming him, and they were like, "Oh no, look at this!" He goes, "What have you done?" And he goes, "How did you do that?" He goes, I fell over on the football field, and Larry just said, "Oh man," he goes, "Yeah, I feel your pain." He goes, "A couple of months back, our Huey went down in Vietnam." He goes, "I got out with a broken knee." He said, "But my buddy," he goes, "got the top of his head sliced off with a rotor blade as it came round, as it crashed." And apparently, he said the girls just looked at him in disgust, spat at him, and walked out. And even the guy who broke his ankle hobbled out and just left him stood on his own in the kitchen. And I thought that is the most heartbreaking thing ever. This guy, he was 20 years old, and he's already, the same with his SEALs, current SEALs out in Afghanistan, doing the things that they have seen. And we briefly touched on it, the fortitude that these guys have got, which is just, it's not sycophancy at all, it's just respect, because like that dog we mentioned before, the dog in the pilot episode, the bomb, that's the one you meant. We thought, bring that up. It would only sit when there's a bomb, and you've got the tension if you're going down in that house. And
in our first episode, if for those of you who haven't seen it, I'll just say really quick. In our very first episode, because this was one that hit home for me on how different of a breed these incredible superheroes are. They introduced earlier in the first episode of our show, they introduced the dog, and the CIA guy goes to pet the dog, and SEAL says, "No, don't pet the dog," and he doesn't do that, and don't tell him to sit. The only time he sits is when he smells explosives. And that's towards the beginning. Fast forward towards the end of the show, where the SEALs are down underground somewhere in Africa, and they know the terrorist hideout is down there, and they get to the door, and the dog sits down. And my gut reaction on something like that is, oh crap, there's explosives in there, let's go. Let's go the other way. These guys, they're trained the way they are. Okay, explosives are in there, take note of that, now let's go in. You don't know if the dog just smells explosives. They don't know if when you open the door, a bomb's going to go off, if it's going to be a suicide vest, if it's going to be a stack of explosives. You don't know.
No.
But they go in. And that just shows, to me, the difference and the special breed that these, like I say, these superheroes are.
They are, they are real life superheroes, because my reaction would also be run the other way,
Yeah.
And if anything goes wrong with that, with an operation or some, or even just a bit of intel changes, and they might get a whiff of recognition or anything like that, then the powers that be, who sit in the office thousands of miles away, will just write it off, close the lines, and close all communication channels down, and say, right, you're on your own. If you get back, you get back. If you don't, you don't. And that is the most, to go out there knowing that you could either end up dead, captured and tortured, or just discommunicated from your own country, because you've got to have some balls. Or even the female,
Well said. Eloquently said.
Yeah. Even the female, even the women, because the women go out there and do just as much as the guys out there, So,
that's right.
Yeah, so
right.
They've really got to have some. What is it Vince McMahon always says on testicular fortitude?
Testicular fortitude. That's right. Yeah. What was June's less serious question? What was her?
Oh yeah, sorry, Luke. Yeah, June's the other one was about how's the beard game going?
Thank you, June. Beard game is strong. It's not as strong or not as out there as it was at the end of season one. At the end of season one, we're deployed to Afghanistan, and in real life, the SEALs, when they're deployed on a mission like that, they stop shaving, they let it grow out, they let their hair grow. It helps blend in, that sort of thing. And so that's what we did on the show. From episode 13 or 14 on, we were instructed, okay, no more cutting the beards and the hair, let it grow. And you'll see that mine grew. And when we started up season 2, I didn't want to go back to the stubble that Blackburn had at the beginning of season 1. I wanted to go kind of in between. And so beard game is doing well, June. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, excellent. And a kind of follow on from that is she calls herself True Blue Annie on Twitter, but at Mrs. Corber, she asked the question on Twitter and Instagram, I noticed, so she's desperate to find this out, is what products do you use on your beard?
Great question, True Blue. I use a product called the hairdressers on set introduced me to, which is called Tancho, and I think it's available on Amazon, but it's not a beard oil. It's like a cross between a paste and an oil, so it doesn't shine as much, because cameras pick up everything.
Yeah,
but does a great job of keeping it. Beard can get pretty frazzly. You know what I mean? So it does a great job of keeping everything down and in place and looking nice without it looking too shiny. It's called Tancho.
Cool.
little shout out for that. Maybe future sponsorship.
Yeah. Be another one. Any sponsorship would be great, to be fair.
There we go. I may have to connect with them, see about a spokesman type deal or something.
Yeah. No, on the old advert, holding it
up. Yeah.
Excellent. As we are, I'll go straight into because I've got quite a few questions, so I want to get through these. But otherwise,
sure.
It will be 10 p.m. for you soon. That's what it is for me. Bev McDonald is asking, how often do you get back to go to Georgia when you're filming SEAL Team?
Oh, great question, Beth. It just depends. It's something I have we get our schedule episode to episode. We get a new schedule, and so we shoot an episode typically over 7 or 8 days, weekdays, which is about 10 days on the calendar.
Yeah. And
if I'm working 3 or 4 days of the episode, it depends on how they fall as to whether I can go home or not. So what I do is I get the schedule, and if I've got like a 3-day break, I'm off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, let's say, I'll take off Thursday night, take a red-eye flight, leave LA, go straight to Georgia so I can get 2 or 3 days in with my wife and kids, and then Monday get back on the plane and get back to LA. So on average, every couple of weeks, every 2 or 3 weeks, I try to get home. This season's been a little tougher to get home. I got home a lot more last season, but yeah, it's still on average enough to where I miss the heck out of my kids are over there, and so I miss the heck out of them. But we fortunately have a few days off for Thanksgiving, which we just had, and then we get a 2.5, 3 weeks break for Christmas. So I can't wait to go back and just sit on the floor and just hang out with the kids for that. And then we get a 3 months of hiatus in the spring and early summer. So yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Okay, cool. I know how you feel about that as well, because I just worked in London for a year, and I was going down on a Sunday, 5-hour drive on a Sunday, staying down there, coming back on Thursday night, Friday morning, and then my son was in school Friday, so I pretty much get 1 day with the family every week. I'm a bit better than you, but every couple of weeks, so I'd had it every week, but it's just 1 day a week. I mean, I was away for my birthday last year, which was 2 days ago, by the way.
Happy birthday.
43 years old. Hey.
Yep, mine was like a week ago, so...
there you go. See, all best people are born into this sort of December, end of November.
Yeah,
Sagittarius, exactly. I missed his. I missed his birthday. I missed my wife's birthday. I missed his first day at high school this year. And so it does get to you when you're doing that kind of thing. So I totally sympathise when you're that far away and you want to get back as much as you can.
And the point I mentioned to a lot of people who ask me about this is to elaborate on Beth's question. Sometimes it's brutally hard, like this year I had to miss Halloween. Yeah. And for kids that are my kids' age, they're 6 and 7. I have twin boys that are 6 and a daughter who's 7. Halloween is like it's second only to Christmas. They dress up in costumes and run around and get candy. So it's huge. And so to miss that just broke my heart. It really did. But the thing is when I'm out here in LA shooting and I have to miss something and anytime I get kind of down about it, it's really easy to fix that because I think back about 10 years ago, I used to work on offshore oil rigs, and I didn't have kids at the time, but I would see these directional drillers and these guys talking to their wives and their children on the phone. Yeah. And I'm thinking, man, it's going to be brutal because they're off there for 40 days, sometimes whatever. And then I also think about the character that I'm playing. I mean, it could be a lot worse. I could actually be deployed doing this for real, and which is so much harder, obviously, than what we do. Yeah. So, when I think about it like that, it puts it in perspective and, allows me to snap out of it pretty quick. But so far, it's working. It's working well.
Yeah, it kind of does sort of sober you up and put a perspective on sometimes things like that, doesn't it? Yeah,
right.
You can go for 12 months at a time doing what these guys do.
Yep.
Crazy. Cool. Kathy Garati, she's actually looking for talking about Blackburn's character himself. She'd like to know if you're going to see more of a personal side of him. She goes, so far we've found out he's not very kitchen friendly, and even off duty he still maintains control. So have you got any background information, or is it just you making that kind of up from the sense of who you think he is?
Well, first off, hello and thank you, Kathy. I've interacted with Kathy before on the numerous social media platforms, and I know she's a huge fan of the show. So thank you, Kathy. But to answer that question, um, we will definitely see some personal side of Blackburn in due time, Kathy. Have patience. We'll get there. Um, but as far as like up to this point, last on season one, um, I was given the material, and the guys all about seeing as how they write when the writers would write the episodes, and I was only doing my job on the show. I took that as a character thing about Blackburn. Like, okay, so we're not going to see his personal side. Well, then he is going to be the most focused guy in the world on his job.
Yeah.
You take something and you make the most of it, type thing. And so yeah, I've developed a backstory in my head for Blackburn. But whether or not that's what unfolds, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, you'll definitely see some personal side of Blackburn coming up, and hopefully, I don't want to spoil anything, Kathy. Yes, we will.
Excellent.
We'll definitely see some.
She did expand on that as well with a few other questions, but I'm not going to go there just in case it might it might spoil things.
Yeah.
But there you go, Kathy. Hope that answered you.
Hang tight, Kathy. It's coming.
Sophie's asking, oh, that's a good one. How was your audition for SEAL Team? Was it a long wait to find out if you got the part of Blackburn?
So if I remember correctly, 2017, about mid-February, I get an email from my agent, and this is how, all of the auditions, they start with an email.
Yeah.
You get the email, it's an audition notice. Many of them nowadays are on tape rather than in person, which is a cool thing about our job that technology has changed. You can actually tape it at your house and just send it in rather than going to it in person. And there's positives and negatives of that. Like I'm a big fan of both. I like the convenience of taping it at the house and the fact that you can do it several times so you get it right.
Yeah.
And send it in. But I also like going into the room and just, doing it live. But this one was a taped audition. I got it, like I said, around mid-February. And then I want to say it was about 3 weeks later, I get a call saying, hey, they're checking your availability.
Cool.
For March something or another. And then so we said, yeah, right now he is available. And then a week or two later, boom, I was booked. I had to go down to New Orleans, where we had just moved from. We had moved from Louisiana to Georgia. And immediately 2 months later, it's like, okay, I'm back to Louisiana, and worked on the pilot. And I didn't want to get too excited. I loved the role when I got it, but I didn't want to get too excited because it was a pilot. And the way the networks work here in the U.S., a lot of times a network will say, okay, we're going to shoot 12 pilots this year.
Yeah.
But they're only going to pick up maybe 2 as a show. And back in 2011, I booked 3 different pilots, and not one of them saw the light of day. So my experience was with pilots had been jaded,
Yeah. Understandably.
So I'm like, looking at the role, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This Blackburn role is really cool. And ironically enough, it was my first ever military role.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Okay, cool. But don't get too excited. It's just a pilot.
Yeah.
Then I go down to New Orleans, and I finally get the full script, because on auditioning, I didn't have the full script. I just had Blackburn scenes. And I get the full script when I get to the hotel. I read it, and I'm like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
But don't get excited. Don't get excited. And then, of course, we shoot, and the chemistry with the cast is great. We all hit it off and had an instant chemistry, I think. And then I'm looking at the dailies, the next day after we shot. Look, here's what we shot yesterday, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, it looks like a film. But don't get excited; it's just a pilot.
Yeah.
And so the excitement, was several months later when we found out that it did get picked up. CBS was picking it up, and I called my agent. We found out that it was shooting in Los Angeles.
Right.
And I called my agent. I said, listen, I was like, I think, this character has a chance of coming back. But I didn't want them to say, oh, well, yeah, Judd was great, but he's down there. Let's get someone here to take that role.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, call the production office and let them know if they want me to come back as Blackburn. I'll work as a local in L.A., no problem.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he did so. And then a week or two later, Well, hey, is he available? Okay, send him over. Yeah, and boom, that's how it happened.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
Great. It's great.
It's good that you did that, because I know there are probably times when you like you say, if you're based in Atlanta and stuff and it's in LA, then they will look at the distance and they'll say no,
Yeah,
because
logistically, it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. So no, that is a fantastic story to hear, and especially that you got picked up, etc. I've heard that before, because people I've spoken to where they've said they've had the pilot episodes and then it doesn't go anywhere, because I've talked to people about yeah, and it's like that's so gutting. And then sometimes they've got Constantine, the old show, they get to 12 or 13 and they decide let's not do anymore, and it's like, why? Seriously? Don't.
I know.
Networks, who can
yeah,
who knows what goes on in their heads.
Yeah, I think all of us on SEAL team, we feel the same way. We're so all of us feel so fortunate and grateful that not only to anytime as an actor, anytime you can get regular work, just whatever, that's great. But to be part of a show that that CBS has decided to go with, that we feel is telling stories that need to be told.
Yeah.
It's a bonus, man. It's the best feeling in the world. We're all super grateful.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Oh, sorry. The other thing is, it's like she's also asking there about the camaraderie. Does it seem fun on set? Because I mean, like you said, you guys all bonded, and you've got a hell of a bunch of acting names in there as well. With yourself included. It's everyone. It's just, and it just gels. And I think for something like that you're doing, like you say, where you have to, everything's got to be so precision. You've got to be able to be in tune with everyone else. And is the laughter offset and the joking around? Is that just the when your cameras are off?
No, I mean it's more so when the cameras are off.
Yeah,
it's I always say, man, if we could put out the footage of when we're not shooting, it would be just as entertaining, because we're all really close since the beginning. All of us have I think a really great amount of respect for each other and what we do, and on top of that, it was just a good mixture of people that just hit it off. Everybody out there on that show, all of the from Tony and Jess to all the guys, I consider like family to me, and they would say the same about all of us. It's just a really I've heard before people say it looks like you guys get along, and I'm like, because we really do. We're all fortunately, man, it's greatest job in the world when you're working with people like that.
Yeah, you can certainly see that as well when it's on the screen. It comes across. I think there's a show I love, Lucifer, and those guys exactly. They're like a family, brothers. You see the Instagram stories and stuff that they put up, and you're crying. Tom Ellis, the humor that So I can just imagine what you guys do.
Oh yeah, it's a fun show to work on.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. Sophie's got some important questions here now, Judd. Okay. The most important questions: cake or ice cream?
Ice cream. Well, first of all, if I had it my way, I'd say ice cream with cake.
Yeah.
The two together is like, you can't beat that.
Nope.
But if I had to choose one, I'll go ice cream.
Cool. She goes, beach or camping?
Ooh, man. So I would say beach, but I'm not a fan of getting into the water as much. Right. Like, I'm not gonna go swimming. But I do love the sun and
You're
the weather.
You're in the wrong show.
I love right. I love the feel of the beach. So yeah, I would say beach by just a little.
All right, fair enough. She just, I'll throw it in there. She goes, hi from the biggest SEAL team fan in Canada. She says, fingers crossed for season 3. And she goes, high five to the cast and crew for putting out an awesome show every week. That was Sophie.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sophie. That's awesome. And yes. Fingers crossed, and high five right back to you.
Cool. The last one I've actually got from someone you'll probably be glad to know, from a question going on, is from Melson, or at Mimmelson, is their Twitter name. It's kind of similar to what Kathy was going. Do we have a chance to see more scenes of Blackburn in action, like in the episode Santa Muerta?
Yes, you will see that as well. Mm-hmm. I think it's awesome that we've been able to establish Blackburn in the command situation room.
Yeah.
Because I think I think it's an element that's different from what the guys do on the ground, but also a very needed element. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love that aspect. I love doing that. Also, though, I was told just a little behind the scenes, so I was told like in October of last year, when we were shooting season 1, that in future episodes we may put Blackburn in the field. And I was like, oh, awesome, cool. So, but I was like, okay, I got to get in shape. So I saw a nutritionist and a trainer, and I started like on a completely different regimen to get in better physical shape. And so, I have to maintain that because I don't know which episodes, but so we saw a sneak peek of that in season 1 in one of the episodes where we're protecting a congressman. We saw the one just recently that she was referring to. And yes, to answer your question, this season you will see some more of that.
Fantastic. That's all the better then. Yeah. And so it's just the series just develops so well, and it is a developing. It's just brilliant.
I love it.
I'm on episode 8 or 9 now, season 1, so still in a baby steps at the moment. But that's gripped from episode, like you say, from episode 1. We saw going in and they see the end. That was it. I was just like, this is my type of show.
You've got a lot of good stuff to come. So
I know I'm really looking forward to it. Cool. Yeah. So the last question I've got for you, Judd. This is a signature question. Now, the reason behind this is because last year a guest who came on my show, if you're a Star Wars fan, you might recognise Nine Numb. He was the guy who flew the Millennium Falcon with Lando Calrissian at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
Yeah, the monkey type face guy.
Yes.
Yeah, I had him on the show last year, Mike Quinn, lovely guy. And he's worked with Jim Henson for 30 years on the Muppets. He works on Labyrinth. So, someone asked this question, and I thought this is such an awesome question, and I've had a lot of laughs with this question from people. So, if you could have a Muppet created after you, which Muppet would it be and why? It could be an existing one either.
So I would create a new character that's part Blackburn and part a member of the band. Was it the Electric
Mayhem?
Electric Mayhem. Yeah. Dr. Teeth and Animal and Floyd and Janice. I know my Muppets, right? And Zoot.
Zoot with the
sax guy. Yeah. So I would have another instrument, but I would keep the Blackburn. It would be Blackburn as a musician in the '70s band with that crew. I would be the 6th member of Electric Mayhem.
Excellent. And the beard game will have to be on point.
Would have a beard.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Of course.
That would have to be on point. Yeah. So I'll say it's a great question. I do, and I actually did.
That's an awesome question.
Because I started doing this show with a few. It's like Judd. Hang on, I can't get the voice now. I've talked that much as a. Judd, it's Kermit here, Judd.
There you go. That's Kermit, man.
That was my little one. And Yoda. No, I'm not going to go into them all. But yeah, that's some great answers there. Anyway, is there anything, before I stop recording, is there anything you would like to say to the people who are watching and listening to this? Right?
Well, for those of you who've never seen SEAL Team, I would say go out of your way to check it out, because even if you're thinking, oh, it's a military thing, I'm not into military, let's say, or I'm not into that type of thing, give it a chance, because I think that one of the great aspects of what we do is because I think that one of the great aspects of what we're doing is that we're not only showing what these guys do, the action, the intensity, the shoot 'em up stuff, but we're trying to tell the story of who they are and the effect of what they do, what effect it has on their home life, their personal situations, as human beings. And I liken it to something like ER. Did that show? You guys know ER?
Yeah.
Okay, so ER, like if you told me to watch this show, it's about surgeries and all these medical issues. That doesn't really appeal to me, maybe. But ER wasn't about the medicine and the surgery procedure. It was about the people who did that kind of work.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen SEAL Team, seriously, you're missing out. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on it, because there's plenty of things in my past that I'm not recommending to watch. Like, I'm not saying go watch those. This is a good show. It's a very our writers are, I think, just an incredible group of talented people telling some really good stories. And for those of you who do watch the show, thank you. I love every chance I get. I love interacting with our great fans, who are caught up and love the show. And I love interacting with those fans and hearing from them and that sort of thing. So thank you so much for your loyalty to the show. And fingers crossed for many more seasons of what I think is a show telling stories that I think people need to see, need to hear.
Thank you, Judd. That was absolutely fantastic. Absolute honour and privilege to talk to you. As I say, I'm loving SEAL Team at the moment. For all of those out there, I hope you all enjoyed listening or watching this interview. And please subscribe to Hellblazer Biz for more interviews. On Twitter as Hellblazer Biz, and also Instagram Hellblazer Biz. And you can find Hellblazer Biz, the page, on Facebook. So please hit like, hit subscribe, hit share. And hope you all enjoyed that. And hopefully I'll be speaking to more SEAL Team cast soon. Fingers crossed. This has been Chris Gordon with Judd Lormand, saying until next time.